Chair, thank you very much, and I'm really delighted to wrap this great event with you. I want to begin just by congratulating everyone who's in the room, because what amazes me is how many people come to a conference like this, they have a great time, they learn a lot, but they leave before the real good stuff. So you've stayed, and what I would say to you is you have vaccinated yourself against the most dangerous word in the English language, which is almost. Have you noticed that? Like, how many folks do you know who go, I was almost there? Yeah, but you weren't, right? So you are here, so I want you just to turn to a person on either side of you and just say, congratulations, you stayed the course. Right. You can see my very first slide, and this is really my whole presentation wrapped up on my first slide, and that is, it's always day one. And that, in fact, is a Jeff Bezos quote when he was asked about how far he thinks Amazon can take the world of global e-commerce. And Bezos' quote is, as far as we are concerned, it's always day one, right? So no matter how many years experience you have, no matter where you're coming from, no matter where you're going, today, by definition, is day one. So let me ask you, what would happen if you treated every conversation with every individual in your life as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make an impact? Just a question. What percentage of your time would you spend in meetings or phone calls? Just share with me. What percentage would you say? Meetings or phone calls? At least 50%, right? Maybe even north of that. So when people know they have a meeting with you, do they wait in a sense of delicious anticipation for that meeting? Do people meet with you because they want to or because they have to? Now, look, I'm going to say a fair amount of good things this afternoon, but this might be the most important. If people want to meet with you, then they'll bring full engagement to that meeting. If they're meeting with you because they have to, they will do it and only bring a fraction of themselves to that meeting. So here's my question to you. Is every meeting of which you are a part an experience other people want to be a part of? That's the question. And by the way, I don't know that I have any answers for you this afternoon, but I've got great questions. What is the real role that we play in this room? We are not here to sell anything to anyone. What we are here to do is to enrich other people's capacity to be remarkable. And I don't know about you, but the best thing any client can say to me or prospect can say to me is, I never thought of it that way. But now that you've put that out there, now that's a whole new range of possibilities. So all of us in this room, I believe, are pollinators of other people's potential. There are about 110 million adults who are working in North America. Of those, 30% of them are engaged and inspired. That means they bring passion and they bring engagement to what they do. About 50% are not engaged, they just show up. And then 20% are actively disengaged. They are your worst nightmare. They are the folks who walk up and down the corridor spreading discontent. So here's the message. If all you are engaged, you've got a competitive advantage over 70% of the workforce. And I know if you're in this room, I'm preaching to that 30%. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to convert the other 70% to that 30%. But it gets more fascinating. Those businesses scoring in the top half of employee engagement nearly double the odds of success compared with those in the bottom half. So if you're in the top half, your chances of succeeding are nearly double those in the bottom half. So I know that each one of you in this room either manages a team or you're part of a team. Would you brand your team as being in the top half of employee engagement? Or are they just going through the motions? Number 3, and this is classic, right? Only 41% of employees felt that they know what their company stands for and what makes its brand different from its competitors' brands. Which means 6 out of 10 people in the workplace, when they are asked by a prospect or a customer, what is it that differentiates you? What is it that is the reason why we should work with you? They go, I don't know. We're experienced. We're professional. We're reliable. All of the things that I expect you to be. But what's the thing that truly differentiates you from everyone else? Number 4. Now, this is an incredibly important point I'm about to make. Satisfied or happy employees are not necessarily engaged employees. Engaged employees have well-defined roles, make strong contributions, and are actively connected to their larger team, and they're continually progressing. So what do we call someone who's happy but not hungry? Well, we call them complacent. What do we call someone, by the way, who's hungry but not happy? What do we call that person? Miserable. Right? So the challenge that we have, and it seems to me like you've achieved this balance this afternoon, is to be happy and hungry in equal measure. To say, I'm really happy with where I am, I love what I'm doing, but how do I take it to another level? And then most importantly, how do I take my client or my stakeholders or my team members to the next level? Number 5. Now this is another fascinating insight, right? Workers are typically more engaged in their first 6 months on the job than they will be at any other stage in their employment with a company. How about that? And by the way, even then, only 52% are engaged. Right? But bearing in mind, the population at large is 30%. So let me ask you this. Have you noticed that the most motivated people in any organization are the people who've just joined? Do you know why? Because they don't know what cannot be done. They have a very poorly developed sense of the odds against them. Let's talk about how to be unstoppable. I want you to look at this little diagram or this little illustration on the slide. It looks like a gas tank, right? And I know that if you're in this room, you probably drive a car. Is there anyone in this room who's ever driven your car with the needle on empty? Right. What goes through your mind when the needle's on empty? Pamela, what goes through your mind? I'm scared, right? Okay, what else goes through your mind? Please keep going. What else goes through your mind?
Why did I do that?
No. Why did I do that again? I mean, it's like, how many have read, it fries my brain. How many have read the story of Michael Phelps? Right? Like, the winningest Olympian of all time. Right up there with Lincoln and Washington, who's just been arrested for DUI. Again. Right? Like, why would you do that? Here's my message before I get carried away. Have you noticed when your needle's on empty, that's the only thing you're focusing on? You can be driving through Nirvana, but all you're worried about is the next gas station. Right? Now, how do you feel when you leave the gas station and you now have your needle on full, man, and the tank says 500 kilometers you can go without stopping? How do you now feel? Relieved. How else? Confident. No limitations. I can literally carry on for almost 1,000 kilometers. Your ability to thrive over the next 1 to 5 to 10 years will not be a function of your intellectual horsepower. If you didn't have that capacity, you wouldn't be here. It's going to be a function of your mojo. Like, how would you feel about me if Terry would have introduced me this afternoon as follows? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Mike Lipkin, one of the world's great motivators when he's on. Right, you go, I wonder who we getting, right? So let's do a little self-evaluation here. Are you a star? Here's a simple test to evaluate your personal evolution of the star social values. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 10 being highest, rate your spontaneous response to the following statements, and remember it takes 9 to be a star. Less than 9, you know what? You might have to find another team. So the first one is, I often do something just to prove to myself I'm able to do it. And I think if you're in this room, you score pretty high on that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I see complexity and change as learning experiences and sources of opportunity. We're going to explore that. I'm able to fully express my talent and personality to others. I don't feel like I have to hold anything back. This is a big one. I'm able to control my emotions so they enable me to succeed in any situation. Right. I focus on eating, exercise, and self-transformation to create a healthy life. Right. I did a session the other day, and a guy looked at me and says, Michael, I just focus on eating. Okay, 6, I'm searching for meaning and a higher purpose to my life that transcends my day-to-day activities. 7, I like to be part of social networks and communities where people are deeply connected. I'm not talking Facebook and LinkedIn here. And by the way, anyone who can delete you with a button ain't your friend. I consider myself as much a citizen of the world as I am a citizen of my own country. And that's, I think, one of the great points about Toronto. And then finally, I'm confident that I have the resources that enable me to live the life that's right for me right now. Right now, because this is the moment that counts. So let's look at each one of those points because they lock into one of the star social values. So they're 9, We're going to talk about personal challenge, adaptive navigation, full expression, emotional control, commitment to health, uncommon purpose, social catalyst, global denizen, and finally, personal well-being. Do those sound like areas that you'd like to explore? Do you agree that if you were to get a 9 or 10 on those, like life could be quite sweet? Okay, cool. You're in the right room at the right time with the right guy. And every now and then when we think of the ambitious goals we've set ourselves, we kind of wish we didn't have that kind of goal. But have you noticed when you don't have that goal, you also don't have that mission. You don't have that sense of what I call constructive tension that is pulling you forward. Look at the third point there, belief that everything leads to ultimate success. So if there's one thought I'd like you to take away today, it's this. Whatever you're going through in your life right now is what you were meant to be going through in your life right now, because that's what you're going through in your life right now. Yeah. So when I came into this world 50-something years ago, I was destined to be here this afternoon. And whenever you came into this world, you were destined to be here as well. How do I know? Because here we are. So I believe that everything that happens is going to serve me. Therefore, I am an incurable optimist. And I've got to tell you something. I've met some really inspiring optimists. I've never met an inspiring pessimist. Think about that. In fact, a pessimist is only good for one thing, and that's to borrow money from, because he doesn't expect to get paid back, right? So there's a mantra here. There's a mantra that comes with this star social value, and that is simply this: I'm ready. Bring it on. Just turn to the person on either side of you. Just say, I'm ready. Bring it on. So let's go to the second star social value, adaptive navigation. And this is the capacity to adapt oneself to uncertainty and change. Our research has revealed a counterintuitive trend. Our research says that the more complex life becomes, the less able people feel to handle that complexity. Do you know that more than 50% of Canadians in the workplace are over the age of 43? So in other words, the lament of the Canadian worker is becoming, we are middle-aged and we are tired. And so we're seeing people being overwhelmed, fatigued, and anxious. So if you're the kind of person who can represent certainty to others and demonstrate your ability to help them navigate their way through complexity, that's going to exponentially increase your perceived value to them. So here's the third one, full expression. Now, hopefully what you can see here today is I'm not holding anything back here. Can you tell? This is Lipkin Unplugged. But here's my question to you. Have you ever been in a meeting where you could have brought more of yourself out? Like you could have brought so much more heat to that meeting and you didn't. How many of you have ever allowed a moment of fear of embarrassment to lead to a lifetime of regret? All of us. It's like taking poison and hoping the rat dies. It's not going to happen. So from this moment on, if you take nothing else away, be guilty of overexpression. Look, I've been coaching communication, leadership now for almost 20 years. And I've never, ever had someone come up to me after a meeting and say, I regret having been authentic. There are a lot of people go, I regret not being authentic. So be you, because others are already taken. So I want you to think for a moment, what feeling do you need to have to play at your best? So what feeling, what emotion, that if you were to experience that, you know you'll bring your best game? So confidence, happiness, somebody else appreciating you. Okay, great. Appreciation, confidence, happiness. Passion, excitement. A sense of success. So I'm going to succeed. I've got that winning spirit. Yep. How many of you need to be under a little bit of stress? How many of you are kind of at your best in a crisis? What's my message here? My message is that this is a deeply personal situation. So you say excitement, same with me. And for me, excitement is positive anticipation of what's about to happen. But you see, I'm the author of that. So I know that if I'm going to bring out all my thoughts, I need to step into that excitement on demand, not wait for something else or someone else to excite me. Okay, let's go to 5, commitment to health. And this is a big one. Because how many of you have noticed that when we're not in pain, we don't think about pain? But when we're in pain, we only think about not pain. So here's Lipkin's definition of happiness: freedom from pain. And I got to tell you, if you take care of yourself first, if you bring all of yourself to the meeting, then you can take care of everyone else. But if you're redlining in the meeting, if you're fatigued in the meeting, you're not going to bring your best game to anyone. And by the way, that third point is critical in the spirit of collaboration and partnership. We're all an ecosystem that we form with everybody else. As someone once said to me, we're all angels with one wing. We can only fly while embracing each other. So just turn to a person on either side of you, look them in the eyes, and just say, I am your other wing. Once you've mastered the first 5-star social values, now we get to this thing called uncommon purpose. It's about being committed to something bigger than you. It's about a meaning that transcends day-to-day activities. So what's the purpose that you bring to your conversations with folks? Because oftentimes when I'm with people and I can sense that they are far more than just about the fee or the revenue or the commission. They really have a purpose that embraces my well-being. That alone becomes a game changer for me, as it is for you, as it is for your clients. So let's get to the third last star social value. This is a great one. This is where you become what I brand as a social catalyst. This is where you become the Kobe Bryant of your team. So you want to be that catalyst. You want to be the individual who's bringing folks together. You want to build what my business partner, Michael Adams, calls the strength of weak ties. So here are my final 2 slides, and then we write on time, my final 2 slides, and that is be a global denizen. You know, we're all part, and I include myself here, we're all part of a global brand and a global business. So you want to be thinking like someone who's boundaryless. The great writer Alice Munro, who just won the Nobel Prize for Literature, said it's not the what you do that astonishes people, it's the way you do it that astonishes people. And if you've got this global sense of appreciation and curiosity and interest, that's what people are going to resonate with most strongly as you bring everything else to the equation. So let's wrap. Here's the final star social value. This is a critical one. It's the one that's the culmination of the first 8, and that's what we call personal well-being. If you want that sense of well-being, you don't necessarily have to have absolute wealth, but what you absolutely need to have is control of that wealth. A sense of being in control, because all our research says if you're in control of your resources, you can focus on everything else. So I think it's appropriate for me to wrap on those final 2 words there, personal generosity. Because frankly, the only reason why I am here is that someone saw me, Tara saw me, and thought I could bring value, and then shared it with the other members of the committee, and they agreed I could bring value. So because of the contribution I've made in the past, I'm reciprocated with the reward in this moment. So here's Lipkin's definition of wealth. All wealth is a direct reciprocation of the contribution you've made to others. So therefore, the greater the contribution, the greater the currency of reciprocity. And by the way, human beings are wired to reciprocate. Do great things for people, they'll reciprocate in the most amazing ways. So look, live every day as though it were your last, because one day you will be right. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you. Thanks very much.